Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you all for being here. Sheriff Cleveland, I'd like to talk about your space. I think you note that the size of your county is large. I'm familiar with large spaces. My district, I think, is the second largest congressional district in the United States that's not a full state. So I understand broad, huge, open space. I think mine is 72,000 square miles. I noticed that you have about, it says shares 54 miles of international border with Mexico, and then it takes care of about 91 miles. The bill suggests that we need a road or a barrier in even these remote areas. And when I was going through the materials, I noticed that your testimony mentions that 43 people have passed away out trying to cross those huge, wide open, empty, usually no water spaces. Am I getting the numbers correct? This is over the past 4 years, is that right?
Yes, so prior to the Biden administration, we'd have approximately one death in our county. Not very many, but over the last 4 years during the Biden administration, we actually had 43 people die trying to cross our portion of the U.S.-Mexico border.
The idea of having a road and a barrier would, at least we hope, start preventing some of those deaths. Is that your thought?
It definitely could. In Border Patrol, we utilize, we have a sensor package where if someone's in need, they can push a button to a rescue beacons, which they're actually referred to receive help. Just due to the limited access in a lot of our area, we don't have very many of those deployed. I think we may have 3 or 4.
Part of the problem appears to be access. I think you mentioned that. So with a road, you could at least be down there and try to provide that kind of help. And the border's a lot longer than the miles that you patrol, and there's awful lot of open, difficult terrain. What about the local private landowners? Are they supportive of a road or some sort of a barrier? What do the local ranchers think?
Most definitely. So our portion, talking about barriers, we don't need a barrier. In much of the Big Bend region, the Big Bend Border Patrol sector makes up 517 miles of the entire U.S.-Mexico border. That's 1/4 of it. What we have out there is what I call a God-made barrier. We have anywhere from 500 to 15 to 2,000 foot cliffs. The right deployment of technology and personnel is something that would benefit us. And then, of course, some of those access roads. And I was talking with Mr. Krummenacher earlier about our access roads. And to be honest with you, a lot of it is to give our landowners, something back, if you will, because we trespass on their land. Like Mr. Perez said, our relationships are superb with our landowners. They support us. They support the U.S. Border Patrol. And we're often trespassing on their lands. And there is a lack of access into some of those border areas.
This isn't a problem, I don't think, in Texas, but in California, the penalty for growing marijuana was dramatically reduced down to a misdemeanor. And thus, there's not much enthusiasm for apprehending folks that are growing marijuana because who cares, right? They're going to be probably turned loose. But this bill contains increased penalties, consequences actually, for cartel members that are growing marijuana, and thus, at least in states like California, there would be a penalty. You're a sheriff. You have to understand the value of having consequences when you go to the DA and say, hey, we apprehended. What do you think of that part of the bill?
And I'm smiling because it really coincides with the border security portion of it. If we don't have a consequence, which we didn't have over the last 4 years, people are going to continue to come. Same thing with the growing of marijuana, and I made the same analogy earlier. We used to catch tons of marijuana on the U.S.-Mexico border. When I first came in the Border Patrol in 1996, that was a primarily narcotic that we caught. We don't catch as much anymore because some of it just is being grown here in the United States because it has been legalized. Yeah, well, so if you don't have a consequence, yes.
Yes, we could talk for quite a while, sadly, about the negative impacts of legalization of hard drugs up in Oregon and the incredibly horrid consequences when it comes to fentanyl death and poisoning. And again, it's because the consequences of such practices were reduced down to basically nothing. Really appreciate your testimony, and with that, I yield back.
Thank you.